NIO stock and what is my opinion of NIO stock going into the end of 2021. So we're going to talk about three things. First of all is the recent deliveries, and then we're going to talk about some of the catalysts, and then we'll talk about demand. So first of all, with recent deliveries, with October, I told you guys that deliveries were going to be less, and it was indeed less, but by a lot. It was 3,600 deliveries. So that's really, really low in comparison to XPENG and Li Auto. And their official statement is, of course, retooling for the ET7 and gearing up for ET7 production. But my question to you is, if they were retooling for ET7, how come they had a production run of the ET7 a while back in September and there was no retooling for that, right? It makes you think, because personally for me, with being in contact with a lot of NIO managers and just NIO sales reps and going to just random NIO stores and talking to the sales rep, they all say it's chip shortage, right? They all say it's chip shortage. And then of course, the official PR release is retooling for the ET7. But of course, as you guys know, they actually did a pre-production trial run for producing the ET7 back in September, and they pumped out a lot of ET7s. Now, how come that didn't require any sort of retooling for the machineries and all that kind of stuff, right? It makes you wonder. So I think the whole entire conspiracy, right, what all the NIO managers have been telling me, and everybody, they're not telling me it's retooling. They're telling me it's chip shortage. They're short on the Nomi chips and then also the HUD chips. But we'll just have to take it with a grain of salt, right? I believe it is indeed still the chip shortage, and they're just taking some time off. Now, of course, retooling sounds much better, right, than chip shortage. Retooling makes it sound like, hey, this is only a temporary problem. It's going to go away soon. Whereas chip shortage is more persistent and, well, it still exists. So take it for what it's worth, all right? I believe it's still a chip shortage. People still tell me it's chip shortage. You believe what you want. I just released a brand new video on Patreon about how NIO's robotaxi infrastructure is already ready. And it's definitely worth checking out, and it will blow your mind. And of course, it does support me a lot. So thank you guys so much for that. Second are the near-term catalysts for NIO stock. And I believe the biggest one, of course, is NIO Day. People have been talking about it, hyping it up. And NIO Day, we're definitely going to see the ET5. The ET5 is the cheaper sedan, mass market sedan. They already have 3 SUVs. They're not going to release another SUV. I hope not. But they could possibly update the current lineup of their SUVs with the new platform technology. But I don't think that's going to happen until 2023. They might announce it now. So the ET5 cheaper version sedan, this is going to be your cheap Model 3 killer. This is going to be your everyday sedan to cheap sedan that people can afford. It's going to be mass market. And this is what's going to see what Model 3 did for Tesla, right? It just made Tesla grow so much, right? Because they can get so many of these cars out there. This is going to be what Model 3 is to Tesla, the ET5. So it's very, very important. There's also rumors of a ES9, okay, and then a EF9, and apparently there's going to be a sort of a minivan sort of car. Now, of course, we already know that NIO has minivans that aren't built by NIO but built by JAC. These are NIO service vans, and this is what it looks like. Now, I don't think it's gonna look anywhere like that, but we do see a lot of minivan demand in China because, people still like the ability to carry a lot of people, a lot of stuff. And the minivan is very, very fashionable for those working class people that have a lot of money in their pocket, but they have to, go back and forth. They're sort of like the boss of a shop or something, or some equipment shop, and they got to have a lot of carry capacity on their car. That's really nice. And also, what's really, really interesting and very subtle that people don't know about is that the recent upgrade of the 70 kilowatt hour battery to the 75 kilowatt hour battery. And this has already been happening, right? So the 75 kilowatt hour battery has better low temperature performance, and it has slightly bigger capacity. It's cheaper to make, and it's just overall a better battery. Now, if you guys know, in the past, there used to be an 84 kilowatt hour battery for NIOS, and then that got phased out for 70 kilowatt hour battery, which has better performance. And now what's happening is the 70 and the 75, they're both being used within swap stations, and they're interchangeable. They're both called the standard range battery. So that is something that's very, very neat for existing NIO owners, and even new NIO owners. They see this and they think, wow, you know, I get to experience better batteries, especially the 75 that has better low temperature performance. And in the future, of course, whenever there's new battery tech comes out, they're going to upgrade the batteries. So old car, new batteries. That's nice. People love it. And then let's talk about demand. Demand is through the roof, man. Demand is massive. So recently there's been a few changes in China that's really pushed demand forward. First of all, it was, of course, the October charging big lineup that made mass media, and it was trending, and people were kind of boycotting traditional EV vehicles because of how inconvenient it is to charge when you're going long distances. Or of course, charging at home is pretty easy to do, and that's very, very nice. But when you're trying to go long distances to your hometown and you got to charge on the highway, it's a big pain in the butt. So that has pushed up demand for NIOs and Li Autos as well. And then, of course, recently what happened here, especially in Beijing, is that they adjusted the interest rate for auto loans. So starting in November, which has already started, auto loan interest rates are going up. And this is a big deal, because before, what you can do is you can buy a NIO with a certain amount of down payment and then a certain amount of interest-free loan payments, right? And then after this period ends, you have a end payment, a tail payment. And that was sort of like how they sort of rolled with things. So people could get access to a NIO for a very, very cheap amount of money to start off with, and just pay monthly, and then at the end pay a bit of money. And this was really, really nice. People bought a lot of NIOs because, man, who wouldn't resist? And then you also got a lot of perks for just buying spot on. So apparently the interest rate is going up. So what happened was, well, you might think that's bad, but that's not actually bad, because just like how last year, before the end of unlimited free battery swaps, which I have, right? And a lot of people placed the orders before that cutoff date, including me. I bought my NIO, this NIO right here, before the cutoff date. That was October 5th of 2020. And this is sort of like another cutoff date. This is the end of October cutoff date. And after that, the interest rate will increase. So last year, we saw a massive amount of orders for NIOs just before the cutoff date. And this year, we're seeing something very similar at the very, very end of October, right? Just in Beijing alone, there was 1,400 orders in one day from Beijing alone. And this is not including other cities. So that's a massive amount of demand. And this is, of course, this is verified by the co-founder of NIO, Qin Lihong. And he said, you know, we've been seeing a massive amount of orders month over month in China. So that's definitely very, very good. And the biggest thing for NIO right now is to fulfill those orders. I hope that NIO can execute everything well and become the NIO of the world.